Hello everyone and welcome back for another Star Trek, the official Starships collection review. In front of me now you see issue 116, the USS Curry NCC-42254. And of course there's a magazine and the model here. So I'll dive right into the magazine and put the model aside for a minute. Alright. So here is the magazine, 116, USS Curry, again, NCC-42254, considered Curry class, launched in the 24th century, and 380 meters long, and it can go as fast as warp 9.6. Rather interesting view of the ship. Kind of surprised it's not the other way around, but that's okay. Turn the page, usual table of contents and your stand mounting guide there, as well as some more specification. It is considered a medium cruiser in service in the 2370s. Its cruise approximately 300, can go as fast as warp 9.6, and has phaser emitters and photon torpedoes as its primary and secondary weapons. Turn the page here, and you have, well, the first thing you notice is a really neat, or I think a better image of the ship than this view. So there's that, and as well as the shot of the Second Fleet from the early days of the Dominion War, and a little text about the history of it, of course. And turn the page, there's more on that, and an even better image, which I think should actually have been the cover shot there. And you got the Excelsior class, because obviously just by looking at it you can tell that the Curry is kind of like a hybrid of Miranda, Excelsior, Constitution class parts. So yeah, it's kind of nice that it's there. And here's some screen caps from I believe A Time to Stand, which is the first and only time we ever see the Curry more than this. So yeah. And some text about that. And here is the ship plans, showing you where the various components are, etc., as well as trivia on the left and right hand sides there. And here is a section on the building of the model itself, the original studio model seen in the actual episode. Of course, it's just a hybrid of parts of basically Excelsior class kits, model kits, as well as Constitution reliant parts as well. And here's the magazine's filler, which is basically, well, about the namesake. So the ship is named after Dan Curry, and basically his involvement in Star Trek since the early days of the Next Generation. And more on him and his contributions to the franchise, of course. And more about him, as well as various screen caps from episodes that he's worked on or has had some serious influence on. And last but not least, we have the on-screen appearance page. And as I mentioned earlier, it was only seen once on the episode of Time to Stand in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which is the beginning of the 6th season. And as you can see, here is the shot of the ship, just kind of off to the corner. You barely get a glimpse at it, and you have to pause it. And since Deep Space Nine has not been remastered in HD yet, it's kind of like you really have to like strain your eyes and pause it and freeze it and all that kind of stuff to get somewhat of a look. So yeah, and of course next time around will be Ferengi, the Ferengi ship from Enterprise, so that ought to be cool. So let's flip the magazine onto the back, and you'll see there is another view of the ship. Not a bad magazine issue overall. So yeah, pretty cool. So now let me get the magazine out of the way and show you the goodness that is inside of the box containing the ship. And here it is, the USS Curry itself. Now, just want to throw it out there. that this is actually my second USS Curry. My first one arrived in pieces, which, to be fair, was an easy fix with a little crazy glue. Just simply glued the nacelles, struts back in place, and it was that was it, no problem. But in my anger at the moment, I just sent for a replacement. And so yeah. So anyway, enough about that. Here it is in the box. So let me get it out and show you what is inside. And apparently I'm not the only one who's had problems with this model or receiving this model. Many people have gotten them in pieces. All right, and here are my impressions. I think it is a pretty neat model. It's a really weird looking ship, but it is an awesome model. I just want to point out right off the bat, and I just want to get this out of the way, but Eaglemoss finally, at long bloody last, finally got the nacelles correct. Now these are some motion picture era movie nacelles. This is how they should have been from day one in the collection. This is how the nacelles on the Enterprise refit should have looked. This is how the nacelles on the Enterprise A should have looked. This is how the nacelles should have looked on the Stargazer. This is how the nacelles should have even looked on the Reliant, although they were much more closer to this than their previous attempts. And I think the only ship in the collection that really got them right, aside from this, was the Saratoga. And of course this one. Even the Jenolan, which the nacelles are about the same size, model-wise, physically, even that model got it wrong, at least the front ends of it. The rest of the body of the nacelles was pretty consistent for the most part, but the front is when they really screwed it up, and that was like a major detail of these nacelles that really bothered me. But I'm glad they finally did it here. Again, I wish they had done it before, but they didn't do it that way, and it was a bit of a disappointment. And just to give you an idea of the difference between this one and before, let me show you. Okay, now here's the Jenolan, which got several months ago, and you can just see the difference in comparison. The nacelles themselves, model-wise, are about the same size, and looking at them, they almost kind of match up. Again, size-wise. But the nacelles on the Curry are superior. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier, the front ends of the nacelles, this is how it looked in the movies and the various episodes. You see it's got that little like strip going down or a line going down, then you have the black in between there. It's almost like there's a separation, and it goes clear across the top and all the way to the back. Not all the way to the back, but close enough. And then you have on the Jenolan and other vessels and other ships, other models in the collection, where they get the body part right, they get everything right, even though this was all painted on, versus this being kind of like a grill. You can kind of feel it. It's even got like a feel to it. Same thing on the underside and the inside, and these are just simply painted on. So you rub that too much, it's gonna come off. But anyway, the front ends of the nacelles are just all black. Now maybe a patient and steady hand could easily paint a straight white line through there, but really who's gonna do that, right? So you can see the difference between the two nacelles, and yeah, now maybe that wouldn't bother some, but it definitely bothered me. So yeah, anyway, so you can clearly see the differences as far as nacelles go, but moving right along. So I think it's a pretty good model. I think it's pretty awesome, to be honest with you. Aside from the nacelles, which I've been rambling on for a while, you got the nice Starfleet registry there, USS Curry, NCC-42254. You got your Starfleet pendant here on the bottom of the secondary hull, or top of secondary hull. You have your Starfleet pendants, and if you look really close, real close, you can see it there. And it's also on the other side as well. And you have your Starfleet stripes there on the nacelle dorsals, or struts or whatnot. Got some nice paint applications here. No funky misalignment windows, of course, because the windows are not really there, which is not a bad thing. Almost wish they would continue to do it this way, because then they can't misalign the windows. So just thought I'd throw that out there too. The bottom looks pretty cool. There's not as much detail down here, but that's okay. You can clearly see some Excelsior class detail down in there, which is nice. Got some nice applications here. Nice thrusters painted on, which is nice. Starfleet pendant there again. The registry information is also on the tail ends of the nacelles as well. We got the United Federation of Planets, etc. And this is a neat ship, I think. I've always wanted it. I'm so glad it's in the collection. And if you look, you can definitely see the different types, the different model types. You have, of course, your Excelsior class secondary hull, Excelsior class primary hull, saucer section, Excelsior class neck, and then you have the Miranda class, Constitution class refit, impulse engines down under there, and of course the Miranda class, Constitution class refit style warp nacelles, also known as the motion picture era style warp nacelles. So yeah, so this is a very good model, and just wanted to also point out that even the deflector dish is kind of in there. It's actually not painted on. It's not just some dot or non-existent. You can actually see the clear plastic with like lines around it, which is just, you know, why weren't they doing this from day one? I have no idea. This is a fantastic model. This is what they should have been doing the whole time. So yeah, you know, as a friend of mine, Tony, pointed out, the nacelles are kind of huge in comparison to the rest of the ship. I agree with that point, but I don't mind it, because I'm just glad to finally have a model where the nacelles are actually bloody right. I mean, I know I keep saying that, but it was just a big thing that really bothered me. You know, I'm a person who's really into detail and all that, and for it not to be on like this ship where it should have been, or the Enterprise A, or the original Enterprise refit, or the Stargazer, or what's the other one? Or the Reliant. Even though the Reliant and the Saratoga were probably much more faithful to this, and were probably the only two models outside of this one that got it correct. Those two being nearly correct, this one being absolutely correct. So yeah, if you're a fan of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, the Dominion War, and all of that, then I would definitely pick this up. This is probably one of the more obscure ships, and outside of Eagle Moss, I can guarantee you this thing will probably never ever be made again. So if you're really interested in it, I would definitely go and pick it up. Obviously, you have to be very careful, because one dropped to the floor and this thing is history. At least the nacelles are. The nacelles obviously are plastic. And I just noticed too that even around the fronts, you even got the gold like trimming on the nacelles, which is like, again, Eagle Moss, what the hell have you been doing? Why didn't you do this kind of stuff before? This is how it should have been all along. You even got like a little color fading there, which is different, which is the way it should have been. There's a lot of gold here, which is nice. So yeah, anyway, as I was saying, it's a good model, good ship. Never will be done again, I'm sure. The saucer section is metal. The secondary hull and the nacelles are all plastic. So yeah, it's definitely worth it. And, you know, if I were you, I would definitely seek this model out and try to pick it up. It would definitely be worth your time and your money. If you're not interested in these ships, then don't bother. But I would definitely pick this up. It is probably one of the best Starfleet ships they've done, which is really odd considering that this is like a kit bash ship, which is like basically parts of other ships and models thrown together to form a complete ship. And this is one of the Dominion War ships, like the Centaur, of course the Defiant, and you know, and other ships that may have participated in the war, and the Kira class and all that. But this is one of the ships that we actually saw in one of the battles, so that was kind of cool. or returning from the battle. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them down below and I'll do my best to respond to you. And until next time, live long and prosper and be safe out there.